Hello and welcome to a long overdue video here at the studio. I am Rowan and today we are going to paint an autumn wreath. The fun thing about these wreaths is that everyone turns out differently, and the fun thing about that is just you could make, a whole variety of them and use them for your greeting cards. You could use them for a logo. You could just use them for a pretty flourish to put on your wall. Anywho, the one that we're going to be making today, I'm using the colors from the Autumn palette, which is a line of earth pigment watercolors that I just released over at Maple Sapling Studio. I'll include the link down at the bottom of the video, but the colors are orange ochre, burnt umber, indigo, and yellow ochre. And the two ochres and the umber, these are all earth pigments. They're non-toxic crushed rock for the pigment, mixed with a binder, no preservatives, no toxic fillers, anything like that. The indigo does come from the indigo plant, which I just think is so cool. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm using a size 6 round. This is a Master's Touch 2000. And it's been one of my favorite brushes lately. The bristles have been holding up incredibly well to the amount of abuse I put them through. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So I'm getting some fresh water and putting my brush in the burnt umber. And we're going to start with a circle. Now, if you wanted to, you could sketch in a circle with watercolor pencil. You could sketch it in regular pencil. I am just going to eyeball it very, very, very lightly. And yes, it will not be a perfect circle, I'm sure, because I am eyeballing it. All right, that's probably good enough. Little crooked, little off center. That's all right. Next thing I'm going to do is grab a little bit more of that umber, and I'm just going to draw some branches in, equally spaced, lightly sketch them in, all around the circle. I'm doing it with just the very, very tip of this round brush. Trying to keep them somewhat equally spaced as I go around. The next thing I want to do is bring in the lightest color, which is our yellow ochre. And I'm going to start making leaves. To make the leaves, they don't have to be perfect. You could do like a leaf shape with the tip and color it in. I'm not going to be that. Oh, actually that looks really nice. But we're going to do something a little looser. So with the tip and like a quarter of the brush, I'm really just pressing it down and brushing it up. Pressing it down, pulling it up like that. Just alternating back and forth. Pressing down, up. The variety is nice. Variety of shapes, variety of shades. Not getting too concerned at this point. One thing I will watch for is sometimes my tendency is to do small leaves on the far end and then larger leaves as I get closer. And I think it's just the natural movement of my wrist. So I will watch for that this time. Try to add in some smaller leaves. And then try to make sure that I'm making them a little larger than I normally would on the far side. I don't know if you can hear that clinking. I've got these little glass jars for my pigments. It tipped over, and every time I brush, try to have them set up right, they were like clinking against the wall. That's silly. All right. So just make sure that's, you know, more or less even, that it feels even, it looks even. All right, and we'll just get progressively darker. So now we'll take our orange ochre and we'll do the same thing. This time I will get a little bit more, not all the time, but I will make sure there's some form in some of the leaves. Maybe a big one followed by a small one. All right. Some small leaf forms. You can tell as I'm painting that I'm really just seeing how it goes along the way. I'm sure you could have a pattern where you just go left, right, left, right, left, right, all the way around, and do your big leaves, and then do a circle of, go around again with the small leaves, but I'm kind of enjoying doing it a little bit as I go. All right, here is our autumn leaf, or autumn wreath. Now I'm adding in a little bit more smaller ones, just going outwards. I think this is beautiful the way it is. If you're looking for a more muted wreath, you could just stop here. You know, maybe you have like you're doing some calligraphy, you're doing a monogram, is that the word? Where you're just doing like a calligraphy letter in the front. This might be a nice way to stop, a nice place to stop for that. I would like this to just be a standalone wreath. So what I'm going to do is grab my umber. I'm going to bring it in and a little bit more, I don't know, just substance to the branches. A little bit of substance, maybe some darker shadowed leaves in the background. Maybe add some rogue branches here and there. Pull it out a little bit. I actually think this is too much form. It's kind of drawing away from my leaves. So I'm just going to take a little bit of clean water in my brush and pull them out into more leafy shapes. I think that'll work a little bit better with the overall feel. And yes, the nice thing about watercolor is that you have a lot of flexibility if something isn't looking quite right. The watercolor paper I'm using, it's actually just a cheap watercolor paper. I'm not exactly sure the brand. Just some sketch paper. But we're not using any fancy techniques. We don't really have to lift any paint from the paper, so this is actually fine. All right, and I'll go back to my orange ochre and just add a few more leaf outlines. here and there. It's okay if they bleed in with the umbers. That's really a nice effect if it does. There. And there we have it. There is our autumn wreath. Let me grab, let's see what we have for cardstock. You could scan it and just print it here on a regular greeting card. I might do that. I also have these brown craft greeting cards that you could, I think this would look nice. Maybe add it to the front of it. You could tape it. Maybe calligraphy like autumn greetings, or if it's a thank you card, you could do thank you. So you do have some room for adding in some text and whatever other effects you want. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed painting this autumn wreath. It's a simple one, but it is so much fun and it turns out so beautifully. And as you can see, it doesn't take a lot of prep time. It doesn't take a lot of sketching, as long as you get that base circle structure in place. Like, it's really just playing with colors after that, which is always fun. If you enjoyed this video, please hit subscribe. I would appreciate it so much. Remember, these watercolors are my handmade earth pigment watercolors. They are available on my website, and the link is in the description below. So thank you, and I will see you next time.